The best of the week on Relevant Radio.
Number to call if you have a question for Mark is 888-914-9149. He's 2 decades in New York finance. Mark, is Stock Picks going to be part of the new morning show starting next week? That's what I got to know.
It's put that in the recommendation box, Tim. I'll get back to you on that one.
I'll send it into your producer, Sarah. I'll make sure that's included in there. Just wondering.
You might want to include chief counsel with that too.
Good. Okay. I'll keep that in mind. The proper disclaimers, right? We can make but no, I can't wait for the show. What do you think? What do you really want I
have a good story.
The heart of the show to be?
I have a good story.
Yeah, please.
That I'll tell you real quick. I've had plenty of bad calls as an analyst, but I'm only going to tell you about the good ones. So one of my good ones, and really one of the best, although I'll probably endear myself to some St. Louisans. So I was covering Anheuser-Busch as an analyst, ticker BUD, pretty easy to remember, make Budweiser, Bud Light. And they had a record of being very, 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 very consistent, generating the earnings they said they would generate in a given year, and tend to take up the view a little bit every year, a little bit over the course of the year. Well, I was at a conference. I covered beverage companies and I was at a conference with a company that was in the business of alcohol, both wine, spirits, beer. And I picked up something that sounded like this leader of the beer industry might get a little more aggressive with their pricing, more promotional. And I did some homework over the weekend. And long story short, I wound up downgrading the stock from a I can't remember if it was from a hold to a sell or from a buy to a sell, but the point is it was marked as sell, which was like, do you know what you're doing? Like you're this is just a steady Eddie earnings grower and you're putting a sell on it. But I was convinced that this was going to be a different summer for the brewer and that they were going to be willing to sacrifice profits for the sake of protecting market share. Well, a day after I downgraded it to a sell, the news came out that Warren Buffett had accumulated a stake in the company. And I'm like, well, I've heard about Warren Buffett. That guy's apparently a pretty good investor. And so I made the conclusion at that point that I just need to do more homework and get more vocal because no one knows who Mark Swartzberg is and everyone knows who Warren Buffett is. And if I'm right, this is going to be great. And if I'm wrong, like they're going to say, oh, that's a guy who just lost to one of the greatest investors ever. Well, they wound up taking down their earnings view over the course of the year. And these numbers are accurate. I don't remember the exact numbers, but they were the stock was something like a $50 stock. When I downgraded it to sell, it went to something like a $40 stock. And I called it a day and upgraded it to a hold and said, okay, I successfully beat Warren Buffett at calling a stock. And so I'm glad you asked.
That's not bad. Well done. Yeah, that's maybe that's which do you remember more, the bad calls or the good calls?
Well, I think this might be something like an ontological comment or something about how we're wired, because I genuinely believe that call. I genuinely remember that call better than my bad calls. And I'm sitting here I've had my share of bad calls, but I have to kind of scrounge around a bit to start thinking about the bad calls. And now they're coming to mind. But truly, when you ask me calls, that call, and I've had some other good calls really do leap to mind. So I think it tells us something about hope.
The Lord, I was going to say hope. Hope does not disappoint. I think the Lord over time has filled you with the theological virtue of hope. So how did this all come about that you started discerning, moving on from that kind of high-powered career path to serving the church in this way through this new show with Relevant Radio?
Great question. There's two ways of answering that. One is that I was a high school teacher and always had as a young man, I should say, I always had a passion for helping people see things as they are. I taught math. And the second reason is I actually got a phone call saying, you'd be a good talk show host, Mark. Have you thought about that? And I was like, no, I haven't thought about that. I had listened. I've been a listener for many years and had thought about it in passing because I do have this interest in sharing the good news. And if you are a sell-side analyst, you actually are in the business of marketing your point of view day in and day out to your investors. So I had the experience of of sharing what you believe to be true, or in fact, what is true. And to be clear here, we're not talking about what we're talking about the truth here. So I had that experience. And then I actually don't mind saying I was in a professional situation in December where it was like, wait a second, I can leave this situation and go into something that is very true to my gifts. And of course, kind of gives me an opportunity to talk about some of the things we've talked about here. And more important than that is just let people share their stories. We did a rehearsal this morning with a couple of folks live, recorded, but folks were calling in live. And it's just one of them, in fact, was one of the pilgrims on this pilgrimage going up the Eastern Seaboard as we speak. And it is so gratifying to just be in the seat that you're in, be in the seat that I'll be in starting Monday, and to let people tell their stories. The story of hope is just a story that's intrinsic to us as humans. And then because we do have the truth of Jesus Christ in our lives sacramentally, why shouldn't we be able to, and why shouldn't we be effective in sharing the good news with the person who's in his car right now, in her car right now, listening? So, yeah, that's really how I wound up here.
That was the Best of the Week on Relevant Radio. The best way to listen to the Best of the Week is on the Relevant Radio app, free and always free. Download and share the #1 free Catholic app today in the App Store.